So I think we will jump right in. Go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, so this is our agenda for this evening. We're going to introduce the counseling staff momentarily. We're going to give you an overview of 12th grade school counseling and what your students can expect with their counselor this year. We're going to talk about letters of recommendation for the college application process, resources and events, mostly through the College Career Center, and a whole lot of college planning info for 4-year and 2-year options. And then, as we said, Q&A at the very end. All right, so this is our counseling department. We have 7 counselors and our counseling secretary. So this is our whole department here. And so all of you have a counselor assigned of one of the 7 of us based on your last name, most likely. And please do check out the Los Altos website, the counseling website. We have a lot of information, and throughout the year, if you have various questions, it's a really good place to go for information. We post all our presentations there and connect you to a whole lot of other resources through there as well. Next slide. Okay, and our College Career Center staff. We've got Angela Price, who's with us this evening, and Laura Duran, who's not able to be with us tonight, but has contributed a ton of information. So they run our College Career Center, and we'll introduce Angela momentarily. And then also here with us is Ariel Rojas from counseling, and Ryan Carter is helping out, and Mr. Fabian Morales, who's one of our assistant principals, in addition to Maria translating. Okay. So 12th grade school counseling overview. So your students' counselors have been meeting with them in various forms for the past 3 years. It's been a really strange few years because your seniors are the ones who were affected by the COVID year as freshmen. So we just barely met with them for the first time when school had to close down. And it's been, of course, a tumultuous couple of years, and we are so happy to see them again in person. We're able to do our senior appointments with them in person. Parents are invited to attend either in person or over Zoom. Either way is great, and we'd love to see you there. In those appointments, we cover a lot of topics, including reviewing their transcript, graduation status reports, and requirements for graduation, as well as their A through G requirements for UC and CSU. We talk about their post-secondary and college plans, their college lists, and where they are in their process, and trying to answer any questions that they have and point them in the direction of whatever resources they might need. We talk about Naviance and any other online tools that are going to help them. For those applying to 4-year college, Naviance is a very important piece of that, which we're going to talk about later in the presentation. And then also part of that college process is the counselor letter of recommendation process, which we'll cover as well tonight for all of you. So we'll go over all of those things, and then anything else that comes up that that either your student wants to address, or any other questions, both ways. So if you have not yet been notified about an appointment, please know those appointments are coming from Maite, our counseling secretary, and we've just started them last week, so they're stretched out over the next couple of months. Counselors are available for students on a drop-in basis during brunch and lunch, and basically if they need to come and see us, like outside of that, just have them email their counselor, and we will make sure to see them. And as I mentioned, counseling website, we send out monthly newsletters, emails, Naviance messages, so lots of ways to communicate. Okay, so we're going to jump right into some of this college process, and then talking about letters of recommendation. So this is an important part of your students' process. We have sent them a lot of information, started talking about it with them as juniors. Next slide, please. Started talking with them a bit about during junior year, excuse me, at the end of the year. And now is the time when this process is actually starting. So quick overview for parents. Most private and some public out-of-state universities require letters from counselors and or teachers. It's not always required, but is very common. And there's a packet that your student needs to fill out for their counselor. It is all digital, and it was emailed last Friday by Deanna Mistel Ali, who's one of our counselors. So that is a link from a platform called Informed K-12, which it's like a platform to sign digital forms. You might have seen some other ones through the school on that platform. So the packet is done through there. And it is quite a complex packet. It's got a lot of moving parts. So we're going to explain that, and we make sure that your student understands it. So they're going to click on that link. They're going to start the packet of forms. They're going to start the form. Then they're going to fill out their part. They're going to send it to you, the parent, to sign and to fill out a parent survey. The parent surveys are really, really, really helpful for us. We'll talk about that more in just a second. And then so you're going to submit that. And then also in that packet, the student is going to link to a student questionnaire and a parent feedback form. So it's all encapsulated in that one link that Deanna Mistel Ali sent on Friday. If your student is not sure where it is, we can resend it. And it's also posted on the counseling website. So it's pretty prominent. Okay, so they've already received their link. There's also a guide on there. So if they're confused by any of the information, there's actually step-by-step guide in how to fill it out. We have video on our website from last year, and of course they can come and ask. Okay, so the parent questionnaire, super important. We ask that parents fill it out. It's not 100% like required, but it is so helpful for your student's counselor. It is in both English and in Spanish. And so any information that you can share with us to answer those questions is terrific. We greatly appreciate that. So your student would be routing you the packet by email, basically, and then you can fill that out, sign it, and then that gets sent back to the counselor. Next slide. Okay, so deadlines, very, very important part of this process. So every counselor is writing roughly 50 to 70 of these every year, which is a tremendous amount of work. And we are more than happy to write your students letters. It's really exciting for us, after knowing them for 3+ years, to be able to talk about all their wonderful qualities and the things that they've accomplished in high school. They do, however, take a lot of time. And so we really, really ask your students to submit their packets on time so that the counselor has ample time to sit with it thoughtfully, read through the packet, and write a really detailed letter. So we have 3 deadlines here. If your student is applying anywhere with a deadline of November 13th or earlier, so that might be called early action, early decision, scholarship priority deadline. They might have to apply early for certain majors, anything like that, based on the date. If it's November 15th or sooner, the packet is due back to your student's counselor by September 12th, which is 2 Mondays from now. If your student's first deadline is after November 15th, then the packet is due to the counselor on October 3rd, so a little more time. And then the last deadline is December 16th, and that's a week before we leave for winter break. It's really important for your student to keep their Naviance list up to date, because Common App and Naviance are linked together. The 2 systems communicate. Your student has been explained how to match the accounts. It's actually part of the packet. And that's very important, because without Naviance being up to date, the counselor cannot submit materials, which are the transcript and the letter of rec and all of that. So we ask them to keep it up to date, but any last changes to their list before winter break need to be submitted to the counselor by December 16th. Anything submitted after that will get done in January. So work with your students to make sure that they are aware of their deadlines, and so that we can get their stuff in on time. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to turn it over now to Angela Price, and she's going to walk you through a ton of resources for the College Career Center, followed by a whole lot of information about various college options. Thanks, Angela.
Good afternoon, parents. Glad to see you tonight. The College Career Center is run by Ms. Duran, who is not with us tonight, but wanted to let you know that she is on staff there, and she works on a daily basis. We stay connected with our students through the CCC website and through Instagram. So if your student needs to get information about the college process, about college visits, or anything dealing with career, they need to go to our CCC website or get on Instagram, and it's flooded with information for our students. There's some resources that we have in the college and that we recommend that students go to when they have questions about the admissions process or looking for reference guides on which college they might want to apply to. We use the FISC college admissions book and the college handbook and book of majors. These are really great resources for students who are beginning the process, in the middle of the process, or have questions about the process. Information events for our families. We have things coming up. The CSU UC Night, September 29th. College recordings on 2022 and 2020 countdown college information is online. The UC and CSU application workshop night, we're gonna have pizza. MVLA College Fair, September 14th. Want to encourage all families and to come to that. And you can check out our YouTube channel. We are on YouTube. We have lots of information, recorded events that we've had in the past. Financial, we're going to address that as well. Paying for college info night is September 27th and Cash for College November 2nd. So we make sure that we answer questions for students who are going to be needing for need-based financial aid or scholarships or merit. So please come to financial if you would like for us to support you, and your children can ask questions about their financial aid. College advising. So I do college advising and I work with students one-on-one. I've been working with students one-on-one since junior year. I provided them with a preliminary college list, every student made an appointment. And now I'm working with students in refining those lists and also moving on to work on their college applications. And you can sign up, students can sign up for appointments via Calendly, and it's on our CCC website. Any student can go into the CCC website and click on my Calendly link, and it will open up my calendar so they can make an appointment to see me. College Plan is focused on college fit, creating a master spreadsheet and deadlines and tasks for students, and deciding on a day for weekly families college discussions. Students can putting students in the driver's seat, making sure that they're in charge of this process. And parents can also attend the MVLA Parent Ed Speaker Series, where there are a lot of speakers that talk about this process, how to move you through the process with your students. We have options in California and all over the United States, actually. There's over 4,000 colleges. And so our students are not lacking options or opportunities in the college process in this country. We have 115 California community colleges, 23 California State University campuses, 9 University of California campuses, 1,600 private colleges, and 1,500 plus out-of-state public universities. Lots of opportunities, lots of colleges for children to consider and for families to think about. There's no one school, there's many colleges and many options. I'll start with community college, which is so unique to California in the sense that the community colleges are set up to help our students move forward in several directions. One would be going on to a 4-year degree school or associate degree, certificate options if they want to go into some career pathways. There's apprenticeships, and they can explore coursework for personal interest. Community college is a great place for students to find academic strength, also to figure out what they might want to do, for your school or in life. It's just a great place to start, and so many resources there. I'll just remind parents that the UCs accept over 6 and the Cal States from the community college, so we know work is valued by our institutions. California community colleges, California Promise Tuition is for years for our 5, and there's transfer pathways. The TAG program, which will guarantee you a UCN, and also the associate degree for transfer if students degree as well as move for your institution. California colleges are a mint, great resource and opportunity for our students. The CSU applications, 23 campuses, all up to date post, as you see. Application opens up October 1, and students will apply through CalApply. One application, 23 campuses. GPA for the CSU is a 2.5, and they use the 10th and 11th grade AP coursework, which all of our students are following, thanks to our wonderful. No essays or recommendation letters unless they're applying for EOP, which is a program for first-generation low-income students. Students self-report their grades on the CSU application. Transcripts are not sent in until the end generally, unless one of the campuses requested. SAT or ACT is no longer considered for admissions in the process. I mentioned the EOP program. It's for first-generation students, started back in 1969 to support and retention of students who come to the California State University system without parents who may have been educated or support and know how to help their students have success at a four-year institution. They target students who have potential to do well. Our students do well and do get the EOP program. They also provide support, academic and financial assistance. EOP is dedicated to making sure first-generation students are built for success through the CSU. Applications. Again, one application. As you can see, the campuses are 9 campuses through up and down the California coastline, and a few campuses as well, like Merced and Riverside. But applications open this one. We've since August 1. Actually, we started this summer with a boot camp with our kids who have been working on the UC applications. They apply at University of California, looking for the website. The minimum GPA.
I think Miss Price got frozen for a minute there. So I'll go ahead and continue with the slide as until she comes back. So the minimum GPA for the UC application for the UC schools is a 3.8 weighted. So they look at the 10th and 11th grade in the A to G coursework. They do have 4 short answer responses for personal and site questions, and no letters of recommendations are accepted. Occasionally, they will request letters of recommendations, usually by UC Berkeley after applying. That is if, not to every student, but sometimes they will request that for any particular student. Also, students should self-report grades on applications, and transcripts will be submitted at the end of the senior year. That is after the student has graduated and all the grades have been entered into their transcripts. Create and check UC application campus portals frequently, as they might send you emails or questions for your students. And the SAT or ACT is no longer considered for admissions. Private and out-of-state public colleges, most colleges use the common application. Some of the colleges use their own application through their website, but for the most part, most of the private schools use the common app. Counselors and teacher letters recommendations often require, and so Ms. Adler talked earlier about the letters of recommendation and the process and how important that is, and how important it is to continue to make sure that the deadlines are met, so we can go ahead and send all those documents directly before the deadline. Essays and personal statements are typically required, and check 2022-2023 testing requirements on individual colleges. So all the different colleges have different requirements for the testing.
Thank you, Mr. Rojas.
Thank you.
The common application and the coalition application are 2 applications that serve private institutions throughout the United States. There's over 900 colleges on the common application, 1 application for all participating schools, and it's connected to our Naviance system. So the council recommendations and the teacher recommendations are funneled through Naviance to the common app. The coalition is a much more limited out-of-state public application. They have some of the same schools that are on coalition that are on the common app. We sort of recommend to students that if both of those if the colleges appear on both of those, we prefer that they use a common application because more of their schools will be on common app than on coalition. But if they use coalition, they should definitely indicate that they're applying to the institution directly on Naviance. Financial aid. This year, we're requiring that all of our students submit a FAFSA application. It is now a state law And so we'll be working with your students in class and on campus to make sure that they get their applications filed, as well as the California Dream Act for students who are not legal residents in California. So either students will do a FAFSA or California Dream Act, but we're requiring that all of our students do it. And the application opens up October 1st, and we will be working with students to help them file these applications. And students can go in and create their FSA ID right now for the FAFSA application, and that's something they'll need when the FAFSA opens up. And the FAFSA, is a gateway to loans, grants, Cal grants, and middle class scholarships, and it's for national, not just statewide colleges. CSS Profile is something that some private colleges will be asking your students to complete. You will know if it's required by the application information that's in the Common App. When your student add a private college to the Common App and they look up the information, you'll see that CSS Profile may or may not be required. It opens up October 1 as well. Scholarships are local, statewide, and national, and we have a lot of them for our students in California. The WUI is another aspect of college application, especially for the Western states, and we have an agreement with all of these states that we will look at the students in the same way and charge them the same amount of money that you would pay for Cal State, that you should pay for some of the colleges on the WUI. And some of them are a lot cheaper than our colleges. So if you're interested in any of these states, you should definitely talk to Ms. Duran and myself about the WUI. Go online and Google it yourself, and we will help you apply to the schools that are appropriate for you within the WUI application process. College testing. So the CSUs and UCs are not considering SAT or ACT in their admissions profile at all. Many colleges have retained test optional policy, and they will continue through 2023. Students will have to check each college for specific college requirements for the testing. The NVLA Foundation will be sponsoring SAT for our students on October 12th, PSAT Day. Optional for 12th graders, instructions have been communicated to family. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Adler to talk about international universities.
Great, thank you. Before I jump into this, we had a couple of questions about the FAFSA now being required. Do you want to wait till the end or address that real quick right now since we were on that topic?
I think we'll wait to the end because it's not a real quick one.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to touch really briefly on a topic that's a little bit not so much new, but kind of new to our students, which is international education. So, we have tons and tons of options in the US, like you just heard a bit about. And another thing that students can do is to actually do their full degree abroad. So many students have done a semester or a year abroad, but aren't necessarily aware that you could do your whole degree, and it's pretty awesome. This has become something of a passion project for me personally in the past couple of years. And so if your students are interested in that, they're welcome to come and speak with me. We have some really exciting programming coming up around it. We have the third annual International University Month coming up in October. We're starting a little bit early to fit in some events. So on September 28th will be our first one. And that's going to be about applying to universities in the United Kingdom. So England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. And their application is called UCAS. And so we'll have a workshop about that. And we're scheduling a whole bunch of workshops through the month of October on various like regions and countries and topics around international education. So if students are interested in that, please do come check it out. We're going to have university reps in person from those universities here, as well as at our college fair. We have a really exciting college fair, first time in person for like 3 years, on September 14th. And so we're going to have a number of international reps there as well, in addition to from domestic colleges. And just a really brief overview. So for students who are interested, there are a lot of really cool benefits. So first of all, in many countries, a full degree costs a fraction of the price of an American degree, especially a private college. It can sometimes be on par with UCs, including the room and board, which is really surprising when families start to learn about it, because it's sort of a myth that it costs a fortune, because it kind of sounds like it would up front without getting the information. And it's actually really affordable compared to what we pay here in the US. In some countries there are shorter programs. So for example, in most of the UK, basic bachelor's degree is 3 years. So you also shave 25% off of the cost on off the top right there. And then there are also a lot of opportunities for a dual degree program, which is similar to a double major. Students can customize a lot of things like a 3+1 or 4+1 for a bachelor's master's combination. Lots of different really neat things to do like that. There's a lot of exposure to opportunities like a work placement year, professional contacts, other cultures and languages, more opportunities to study abroad. So really kind of endlessly customizable. Students learn to become adults a lot more quickly. And it's just something different. So if your student is looking for something a bit unique and not so much the traditional American experience, it's a great thing to look into. And they would typically apply to both international and domestic alongside each other, and then kind of think about it throughout the year. So again, they're welcome to come and chat with me, and please do encourage them to come to our events. They're posted on the College Career Center schedule. Thanks. And I'm going to now turn it over to Mr. Rojas to wrap us up.
Thank you, Ms. Adler. So the question is, what should students do now? I will say more like, what should parents and students do now? The number one thing is breathe, please. Just take a moment and take this whole process. It's really stressful, and it could be, there's a lot of work because your students are not only trying to get applications done and all of these little things that happen through this month, but they also have to continue taking their classes. They also have to continue doing their extracurricular activities, and they also have to continue being kids. And so how do we put all that together is by just sort of like letting the process go and making sure that we don't lose sight of the finish line. Right now, as I was talking to students this week, it's telling them, you know, you're at the end, you're at the almost there at the finish line. So now it's time for you to do the sprint and start, you know, getting stuff done, making sure you're meeting the deadlines, and making sure that you're taking time for yourself to make sure that you're not getting overly stressed out. So please, please, please work with your students to make sure that they are doing well. You know, do things together, you know, plan things monthly, so that way you guys can do things that are not necessarily related to school or application that will help students with their well-being. Students have to maintain progress on their A through G course requirement and grades. So right now, as we are meeting with the 12th graders, we are making sure that they are on track, not only for graduation, but we also look at the A through G requirements. And if there's anything that they're missing right now, it's when we're really making sure that they have a plan, or they are working on that. They should all, by this time, should have a very good handle on the A through G requirements. And, besides the 12th grade requirements that most seniors have, that they need to complete for the A through G requirements, there's other requirements that need to be met, and we're talking to them about them. Grades are really important this year. Okay, I am not the kind of counselor who focuses just on grades all the time. Grades to me are super, super important, and that's very valuable, and I really stress that. But it's not just grades. There's so many other things that are also important. So we can neglect one and do the other one more. We have to maintain a balance. And so this year grades are important because many colleges will be looking at your first semester grades, especially the private schools. If the student is applying regularly to a private school, we send them year reports after the first semester grades come in. So they will be looking at that. But sometimes schools will request that we tell them about progress in terms of the quarter grades, even though quarter grades are never on the transcript, but sometimes we will get requests from schools if they're very interested in students. So the students have to continue to maintain their grades and do well this year. We have to, they have to review the requirements for schools on their college list. That's really, really important. They have to make sure they know the deadlines and what they need in order for them to be eligible for that school. So that's really important. They should be working on that right now. We hope that many of them started working in the summer, so they don't have all that bulk of work at this time, but there is plenty of people in our school that can help students if they need any help. Ms. Price, Ms. Duran, their counselor, we are there to help. We need your students to complete their counselor letter recommendation packet materials. That is super important. We need that. We need students to go by the deadlines, because it makes it really hard when you have a lot of students to get last minute packets come in. We try to do as best as we can to make sure that we help all students and make sure that we are always looking out for the students, but we need to make sure that, in order for us to be able to do a really good job with the letter recommendation, we need to follow those deadlines, okay? By this time, most seniors should have already asked a teacher for a letter recommendation. And if they haven't, so please ask your students to start doing that immediately. They need to have 1 to 2 teachers to write academic recommendations, depending on the college requirements. A lot of colleges require 2 letters, but there might be one college that requires just 1. And there's different rules in different colleges. That's why it's really important for your student to look at the requirements for every college. Also, I cannot stress enough checking email and Canvas regularly. We will be sending emails pretty much regularly from this point on, with information that's really, really important about, college applications, letters of recommendations, events that are happening. And also colleges will be emailing them as well. So, so please make sure that they are constantly looking at email. All right, so a few last things, make sure that they check email and college application portals frequently. It is the student's responsibility to make sure that the application files are complete, okay? Colleges will generally not look at a student application until all the materials have been received. So I had a question this week, I believe, about, if I send the application on October 1st, are they gonna look at my application first? Well, that's when the applications for some schools open up, and they have a deadline. So not until the student has submitted all the documents and all the students have submitted their applications, then they start doing the review. So just make sure that they submit all of the materials. And for the private schools, if we have the materials that your student are supposed to be giving us in terms of the recommendation, we should be sending those materials on time to the schools, so that way that all of the materials get there on time. Use a professional sounding email address for college communications, such as first name, that last name @gmail.com. Students should be very careful about what they post on social media. I cannot stress this enough. They keep talking about that, and they keep saying, be careful, because colleges do have people looking at social media. So if they find students doing things that are inappropriate on social media, they could and can rescind admissions due to offensive social media content. So this is not a time to be, this is a time to be careful and to be vigilant and to make sure that you are following the directions. It's really, really, really important. So I think we have plenty of time right now for questions, and I would love to open the forum up for questions. I know we had some questions already on the chat, and there were questions that were a little more complex. Most of them have been answered, but let's talk a little bit about Ms. Price, if you mind. Let's talk a little bit about that new rule with the financial aid application, because that was a
FAFSA
question. Yes.
Yes, California is one of a few states that have decided to have the FAFSA mandatory for high school graduation. We haven't gotten all of the details about parents who might be able to opt out or things like that. But for now, we know that California has signed on that our students must fill the FAFSA out, and it's part of graduation requirements in the state of California.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And there was another question that it was answered, but I want to repeat it. And yes, the students have already been distributed with all of the information. Okay. A lot of information has been given to the students, especially with the packet for letters of recommendations. have been already sent to the students. But if you guys have any questions or your student has any concerns, you're welcome to email us, or your student is welcome to come see us during lunch in our offices. And now we do have counselors in the quad on Friday. So every Friday we sit in the quad so we can be more visible to students and we can help students with any questions we have. So just have them come and visit us. Ms. Adler, you need to unmute.
I'm muted. Okay. Ms. Duran and Ms. Price went into all the senior social studies classes last week and delivered a lot of similar information to them, including talking about the FAFSA and how to access their appointments and information. So, feel free to ask your student about that, but they did just get information across all senior social studies. So they should know some of this resource information.
Thank you. So are teachers and counselors able to submit letters of recommendations through the Coalition app? Also, if we select direct, how do we provide letters of recommendations if needed? Ms. Adler, you want to answer that question, or anybody wants to take on that?
Sure. So the Coalition, this year is going to be probably few and far between because like University of Washington is joining Common App, and so it's not as likely your student will be on here. But if they are, they would enter their counselor and recommenders emails into the Coalition app, and that triggers an email to be sent to us as the recommenders to be able to upload for them. So yes, it is a direct process on the Coalition app.
Thank you.
But there's more. Also, through Naviance. So Naviance is connected directly to Common App, but there's also another online non-Common App platform there that allows submission to other colleges. So that's another way it can be done. If a student is applying direct to a college, I think that's what that means. In general, it's going to be a process where the student's going to enter an email address into a field for the recommender, and then we receive that email to be able to upload. It's possible that there are exceptions to that. Excuse me. So if there's anything that's unclear, your student can come and ask in the College Career Center how to navigate a certain thing if it doesn't fit into that or if it's not clear.
Thank you. Ms. Price, can a parent and students share the same username, password, and FAFSA ID, or do they have to create separate accounts?
They can share it, but parents are encouraged to create their own FSA ID. Once the students create theirs and open up their FAFSA account, because parents and students both have to sign the FAFSA, and they will have to sign with an ID, so parents should create their own FSA ID.
And this question might be for Ms. Adler, since you're doing the international. The U.S. universities recognize international undergraduate degrees the same way that they would for those obtained at the U.S. institutions for acceptance into a master's program?
That is an excellent question. Generally, yes. It is really quite vast, so it requires a lot of research, and students should look into that to be certain at the universities that they're looking at. Situations where it might be a little bit more complex would be something where they need to come back here and be licensed. So for example, they want to be a teacher, a lawyer, a medical professional, something like that, where here they need to get, licensed or credentialed in some way. They need to look into that. Generally, it's possible. And there are even some situations where, for example, some Irish universities have an agreement with the New York State Bar so that their law program comes back directly to New York and students can practice law. So without taking the New York Bar. So there are some agreements like that, but basically it comes down to researching. In terms of recognition, absolutely. Universities abroad are quite well known and quite prestigious around the world. It's just kind of a new concept sort of for us. But yes, lots and lots of opportunities there, and generally not a big issue to transfer it back.
And also, Daphne, international students come here all the time for graduate school, yes, having gotten their degrees out of the country. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So usually, because SAT and ACT are private entities, you can find information detailed information about the SAT and how to sign up for the SAT or the ACT. If you go to collegeboard.org or act.org, that will be for the ACT. Okay.
And for
Go ahead.
students who are looking at doing the October 12th at our school, seniors, I believe, are going to get an email in early October with the opting in information to have it on our campus.
So can students tutor submit recommendations to the counselor for their packets?
A student's tutor.
So we're talking about a tutor that's working outside, I believe, the school. Can they submit a recommendation to the school counselor for their packet? So normally we're requesting information from the parent and for the student. And then we also use our observations when we write a letter of recommendation. So our letter recommendations are very unique. And so we stay away from getting information from people from the outside. There are schools that might accept letters of recommendations from other entities or from other, like if a student was doing an internship and stuff like that. But you have to research those universities and see whether or not they accept those. But for our letter recommendation, it's a very unique letter recommendation, and we like to do to work with the student, the parent, and ourselves. Anybody wants to add anything to that?
I'll add just one thing. Hi, everybody. If they do allow a supplemental letter, as Mr. Rojas is describing, that would be a case where the student would request, send a direct request from either the Common App or the school's platform to that recommender. We wouldn't submit it on behalf of an outside person. So occasionally a school will allow for what's called a supplemental letter beyond the teachers and the counselor. And in that instance, the student can just send the recommender request directly to that person. If that's a coach, an outside teacher, someone they've known for a long time who wants to speak on their behalf, etc.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. So, Ms. Price,
Yeah.
How can a letter recommendation from Ms. Donnelly, who was a teacher last year but has left the school, how can that be submitted?
The teacher that was at Los Altos High School,
Yes.
that teacher just has to get in touch with Mr. Rand. She will be able to allow that teacher to get back into our Naviance if she was a teacher at our school.
Thank you. So, is the resume for the letters of recommendations? Hold on one second. I got booted out of my questions here. Is the resume for the letter recommendations similar to the activities list? So for our letter recommendation, we've been talking to students from since 9th grade about like starting, to write a list or to start putting stuff in the resume in Naviance. And it could be very similar because, as we know, in high school, students might not have a lot of work experience, might not have a lot of things that will go on a real resume. So yeah, activities will be a good idea to put in the resume. Those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at as we're going along.
And there's a template in Naviance that students are supposed to use for that. So they just kind of type in, they select some drop-down boxes and type in some brief information, and Naviance will format it for them as a resume. And then they're going to PDF that and attach it to their packet for their counselor.
Thank you. So if we cannot get grants or call grants due to family income, do we still have to fill out the FAFSA? And that's what we're just talking about. And this year, I believe we do.
We do, yes. We haven't got all the information from the Board of Ed yet, but we will, and giving us guidelines. But it is a high school requirement for graduation now, so our kids will have to fill it out.
Thank you. What are the most competitive STEM majors right now? So that will be a question that I will refer to the students talking to counselors and maybe going to the College and Career Center. Those are good questions to ask Ms. Duran, Ms. Price. She has a very big handle on universities and stuff like that. But that will be that's a big topic. So I will recommend that you guys, your student comes and talks to us or goes to the College and Career Center. The UC application starts on August 1. does it really matter if the application, as I said before, because they have a deadline, the applications are going to start being viewed after that deadline. So it
Right.
doesn't really matter. It's not a first come, first serve basis. So what we want is for your students to do a really good job at getting that application done, at writing those essays, and making sure that you don't wait for the last minute to submit that application. That is really important. You
Right.
want to make sure that you have time to do that. Go ahead, Ms. Adler.
And plus students can't actually submit until October 1st. And that's new for this year as well. It used to be November 1st and they have moved that up to October 1st. So even though the application has been open, they can't actually submit until October 1st at the earliest. But yeah, it's not rolling admissions for the UC. So we recommend that they not wait till the very last minute because
True.
potential, system crashes and stuff like that. But anytime within that filing period is generally fine.
And I think thank you so much. And I think I answered these questions about colleges assessing senior grades. And yeah, so it depends on when the student applies. If you're applying to a regular decision school, a private school, they will look at the mid-year report, and that's how they will assess them once we send them the report and the transcript for the first semester grades. But if a school, if a student applies to a school early and they're really interested in the student, or they want to find out a little more about the student, they will often request grades from the quarter just to see how the student is doing. But normally it's at the mid-year report, and for the UC and the CSU, they won't see the transcript. They'll see it once they graduate. And so, so that doesn't mean that the student can just like have a free for all spring semester. It means that you continue to work hard and you want to continue to be at the level that you were in when you applied or better. Okay, because the UC especially, I know firsthand that they will rescind applications if the students don't do really well in the spring semester. So they will be looking at that. So we don't want your student to get there on the first day of school and be like, oh, sorry. So yeah, let's just make sure that they continue to do well. How do we find out about the academic requirements for the international universities? As Ms. Adler said, there will be events coming up. There's Ms. Adler could help your student if they have any questions about it, but you can go directly to the university. And go ahead, Ms. Adler.
Yeah, and so the university websites are, just like here, are a kind of ground zero in terms of resources. It's a little bit complicated sometimes for international requirements. It depends, there's a variety of like high quality websites. Some of them are not as wonderful. Again, just like here, where some colleges will post tons and tons of info and it's easy to find things. Some you have to dig a little bit, but generally it's available on the website. And if there are questions remaining, one of the really wonderful things about the international process is that there is always some kind of dedicated international staff. So like university admission representatives who are dedicated to international applicants, sometimes just for the US, sometimes for regions in the US. So it's quite personalized. And so I can help them to locate like who a rep is for a particular university if they have extra questions. I definitely encourage them to do that.
Thank you. And the question about studying abroad, a part of their college. So it is very common that students will take a year off and study abroad. A lot of times those programs are done by the university that they are going to. But Ms. Adler, do you have anything else to say about that in terms of the second half of their college? I believe that will be a university,
Yeah, so if a student is doing a traditional semester abroad or year abroad through their US university, it is most often during junior year. Sometimes we might see that during sophomore year, and more there are some really neat like creative partnerships between US universities and universities abroad, where students might even start their freshman year abroad and then come back to their home university. So it can look a lot of different ways. And again, first stop would be the university's website to find out about those opportunities. So if study abroad is an important criterion for your student in and what they're looking for in a college, they definitely should look at that. ask questions. It's really, really popular now. And so there are lots of different ways to do it. It's not so much first and second half. It would typically be in their third year, but it can look lots of ways. And some schools might have like summer session, short class abroad, or a winter like intersession kind of thing if they don't come back until late January. So in between the holidays, they might go somewhere. So many, many options.
Thank you. So for the UC portal, it's only for UC University of California schools.
Right.
Okay, that's it. All the other schools either go through the common application or through the other platforms. But for the UC schools, it's only for UC schools. In terms of, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, UW is new. And Ms. Price, correct me if I'm wrong. Today, I think, is when it should show up. It was not showing up last week, but on their website, it says check back September 1st. I've not personally looked today, but it should be there now, theoretically.
I haven't checked it today, but they said it will show up today.
Yeah.
For the common app.
Right. So UW will now show up with other common app schools, and UC is a completely different application website and portal, having nothing to do at all with UW.
Ms. Price,
Mhm.
if a student takes the ACT on October 22nd, will that score be available for November 1st early decision deadlines?
Probably won't. It usually takes up to 6 weeks for them to score the exam. But I would say to the student to check and see if the ACT is required by that school. Because if it's not required by that school, then its effect within the admissions process will be diminished. So it may not be something that, will make a difference if he took the test anyways, if the ACT is not required by that school.
Thank you. And I have another question about test scores. Do they have to submit test scores at the same time they submit the applications, or can it be done before the application is submitted?
The applications in the Common App allow students to put in their scores. And so they will always upload them in there unofficially, and then they will send in the test scores.
Ms. Adler, are there any opportunities for scholarships and financial aid for international schools?
Why, yes, there are. I love all these international questions. This is great.
That's awesome.
Yes. Okay. So it's going to be different everywhere, and again requires research. Many universities abroad are now able to accept FAFSA, which is fantastic. Not all scholarships are eligible to be taken with students abroad. Unfortunately, like the Pell Grant is not. But universities are trying really hard to recruit American students. So they are also starting to offer more and more merit aid. So the combination of the lower price tag to begin with for tuition and for cost of living, it's already cheaper, and there are often opportunities. Once in a while, even a sports scholarship is a little different over there, but yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is it depends what it looks like based on where you're applying. So come chat with me, or I can put you in touch with admission reps who can answer more specifically for a given university.
So please check all of your universities, like we said before, about the requirements in terms of everything, including letters of recommendations and how to submit those and stuff like that. There's a question here that says, my son says that teachers have submitted the recommendation letters online. My question is, where is this online? Is it Naviance? They should submit it through Naviance. I'm not sure that any teacher has submitted letters of recommendations at this point, but I will want to know because this teacher is doing really well with the deadlines. So, however, it's actually a process. Most likely, it'll be very close to where the deadline is. But they are submitted when the students say online. It means for us in the school at Naviance, if he's a teacher that works at Los Altos High School. Anything to add from any of you guys?
I would say that once the student submits their application, that's when the letter of recommendations will go to the college as well. If a student hasn't applied to the college yet, the letter of recommendation just sits there.
And then they'll match it later.
Yeah. So for the question about the student who transfer mid-junior year, about the letters of recommendation from the other school, have your student talk to their counselor, and so the counselor can guide them on that. because we even have students that come in during the senior year, and so sometimes their counselor from the other school might want to write the letters, but it might be a conversation that you guys might want to have with your counselors, so we can give you a better guidance on that. So another international question. So I guess it varies by country and university, but our SAT scores the main way international universities vet students for intake.
That's a great question. So as per usual, the answer is it depends. It's not generally the main way. They use a variety of requirements. For example, in the UK and Ireland, the systems are really, really different than here. So they will typically prefer AP work over SAT, particularly the exam score. That's going to be the most important thing. It's a little bit in depth for tonight. We can't really get into that right now because we have to wrap in just a moment. Please have your students come to our sessions. It's like throughout October, we will explain absolutely everything. We'll do an intro. We'll talk about affordability. We'll talk about skills for thriving abroad. We'll talk about employability, requirements, different regions, different countries. There's tons of information. So all these questions will get answered and a lot more probably.
So do you guys know, so there is an important question here about the SAT for October, okay? So somebody's asking about opting into the October, Los Altos High School October SAT. If there's something that they need to fill out, or is it due by tomorrow?
They do have an application they have to fill out. I think it went out to all students, but also if the student go online to NVLA, I believe they posted the SAT registration there. Or at the end of this meeting, if you send me an email, I will send you the email that we got from NVLA about registration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Price. That would be really helpful. So how do we apply for region scholarships from UC? Do we know anything about that?
Well, you don't apply for a region. They consider every student who applies in the UC application for all of their scholarships. So the regions is something that the UC will offer your student and ask your student for more information if they're going to be considered for a region scholar. It's not anything that you can apply to. It's something that a university asks you to apply to, given your leadership and your academics after you apply and have been reviewed by the admissions office.
Thank you. And so the information of the student GPA should be found on the transcript. Usually the transcript is detailed and it tells you what the GPAs are. And it has, 3 different GPAs and all that stuff. And if you have questions about that, check in with your counselor. We go over that with your students, but you can find them on Aries. You can find the transcript there as well. Is there training teacher students? Okay, hold on one second. So it keeps moving up. Is there training teaching students the different ways to look for scholarships or grants? If
yes.
Not, what online recourses? Go ahead, Ms. Price.
Yeah, you can have your student come to the CCC. When they walk in, we will help them go into Naviance. There are scholarships already in there that are available right now. And grants are basically decided by the institutions or by FAFSA from the federal government. But scholarships are certainly available. You should send your student to the CCC and we will get them started on researching for scholarships.
So thank you. So for the question about grading and whether or not a college will ask for quarter grades, this is not something that happens to every student. And the reason why I mention is because it does happen to some students, but colleges just don't pull off grades from Aries because that's they don't have any access to it. Okay, so they will request them through us. And in terms of grading and the way teachers do their grades, that could be a question that you can have your student talk to their teacher. But I never had any issues with the quarter grades being the real grades. Do you have anything to add to that, Ms. Adler?
Yeah, so if a school wants quarter grades, it's not going to be pulled from like SIS gradebook. It would be their report card from first quarter. And so if a student needs that, so we don't send those automatically. It's just if the college is requesting it. It's typically for early decision. So if they want it, the student has to let their counselor know, and then we would upload the grades that are posted from first quarter. So it's not like the kind of thing where, oh, I have, mostly my grades are fine, but I have a D because I missed a test last week that I'm going to make up. It's not going to be that kind of thing. It's like, it's the official posted quarter grades only.
Okay, so we answered about a lot of questions about the SAT. Let's see. Can the counselor team send this deck and send all of the information via email of this? My senior is non-communicative, so this whole presentation is going to be posted on our website. So you'll have a link to see the presentation, and your student can go ahead and look at it. Mr. Carter, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, hi again. I just wanted to add that, we just started senior appointments this week. And so we are meeting individually with all of your seniors, and we're going through all of this information with them as well. You're also welcome to attend those meetings in person or by Zoom, which we are sending out invites just a couple of weeks before the student's appointment time. So lots and lots of opportunities for students to ask questions and get information, and we will continue posting online.
And
Thanks so much for all the great questions though tonight. They're really great.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate everybody here on the panel tonight. I just wanted to say it's been a great evening and a lot of good questions. Don't forget that we are available for you and for your student. You can email us and ask questions. Your student can come see us during brunch and lunch, and also email us. Sometimes emails are really a really fast way to get a question answered. So we are available. What we want is for your student success, and we wish them the best in the college application process. So it's been a great evening. I'm gonna go ahead and close up this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Morales Medina. Thank you, Ms. Maria Ernie. Thank you, Mr. Carter, Ms. Price, Ms. Adler, and go and have dinner with your kids. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a great
Good
night,
night.
everyone.